I don't feel alone. We just settled in and it already feels like home.
You're listening to the Feels Like Home podcast with Mike Throne and Marty Ford. Powered by Horizon. This is big. This is gig.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us on the Feels Like Home podcast this week. It's a little different feel this week. So Kevin Littler is a sales manager at Red Lobster here in Chillicothe. He's a local guy, born and raised here, and is back in his hometown with his wife and his young child. And he's working there, and they're doing some really kind of interesting and fun things to kind of be a little bit more part of the community. So we wanted to have Kevin on and talk about what those things are. And then also just talk about what it's been like in the food industry and the restaurant industry over the last couple of years. So I hope that you enjoy this. It's going to be a different feel to it, but here's Kevin Littler from Red Lobster.
Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, there you go.
That's right.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's exciting to have Kevin Littler with us today. What's your official title at Red Lobster?
So my official title is sales manager.
Okay.
But unofficially, I'm the bar manager, sales manager. So
just about everything but the general manager, right?
Basically, we all kind of dabble in, everything other than, our name being on the building. So,
sure. So one of the things that I've heard, well, first of all, let me back up for a second. So I've known Kevin for a long time.
Yep.
It's one of those things where you're a young podcaster, but an old guy. So this is the first one that I can think of where I've had somebody that I used to work with child on my podcast, which is a little freaky. I'm going to be honest with you. It's a little weird, but nevertheless, your mom was Janet. We worked together at the Gazette.
Yeah.
She was in advertising, of course.
Yeah.
I know your dad well. He actually sold me the furniture that we had in the conference room upstairs at the Gazette. So just bring that whole thing together. And plus I know your wife because she's one of my friends' wife's best friends. Yeah. So just all that is
all comes full circle.
If you're listening,
full circle.
If you're listening to wherever you're listening, in your car, or your home, or wherever you're at, there will be a quiz later. So, so one of the things that I've heard about Red Lobster is that this location here in Chillicothe on Red Street is not part of the Darden or whatever that restaurant group's name, or is that true?
Okay, so it's not specific to, Chillicothe's Red Lobster. So Red Lobster, let me backtrack. Darden, back in, I'm probably going to get this year wrong, but 2016, maybe 2015, they decided to sell Red Lobster across the board. So, if there's a Red Lobster in Florida or California, we are all owned by Red Lobster Seafood Company. Darden, the rumor was they came down between us and Olive Garden, and they decided to sell us. So, there's been a lot of changes, some for the good, some for not so good. But overall, I think, we're doing well, standing on our own 2 feet without, the big backing of Darden. Mm-hmm. I mean, they have Longhorn and Olive Garden and Cheddar's, and, you can go on and on for their portfolio. So,
yeah. And, just like everybody else in the service industry, the Red Lobster, even as a corporate entity, still got hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
Staffing is continuing to be a concern, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is actually something me and Marty were talking about when I first showed up. So, back in 2020, basically Mike DeWine, the governor, made the announcement about, shutting down restaurants for takeout only. And then, basically the next day we basically had to lay off all of our staff.
Yeah.
At that time I wasn't a manager yet, but I've been a supervisor for, a while. And so what we did was our GM was on medical leave for shoulder surgery. And another manager volunteered to be the one furloughed. So it was, 2 managers and then me, and we worked 10-hour days, 6 days a week.
Wow.
Takeout only. And, we put a little Ring doorbell at the front so, guests could, because, we were doing everything, cooking, prepping, answering the phones, doing dishes, all of it, the 3 of us together, 10-hour days. So it was very interesting. I hope, this world never has to go through something like that again.
Sure.
So, yeah.
So did you start out at Red Lobster or another place
So,
cooking or something like that?
So I started at Red Lobster in 2013, kind of on a whim. My brother actually was a grill master there, Kyle. And he's like, hey, do you need a job? And I was going to Shawnee State, living down in Portsmouth with a friend of mine. And so I applied for a server assistant, bussing tables. I never have worked. I've worked at like KFC, nothing, super crazy in terms of restaurant. Red Lobster is obviously up there, compared to where I have been at before. So, you take the server assistant job in hopes of becoming a server. And that's what happened within about a year of me being a server assistant. I became a server, and then I decided, hey, let me learn how to bartend. So then I thought that was cool. So I became a bartender, and then, hey, do you want to be a professional? Which at the time, that's what they called the supervisors. So basically I would have a manager card, and I'd be able to do manager tasks without having the manager title. And then they came out with the supervisor program. It was actually me and Vicki Miller, who is now a real estate agent with E.R.A. Martin. Me and her went through that program together. And that's when you get keys to the restaurant, you get code for the security lock and all that. So it was like a much more bigger deal at that point. And I thought it was just super cool. And I put myself in the kitchen. I wanted to learn everything. My opinion about that has always been, I don't like to be someone's boss if I don't know how to do the job or if I've never done the job myself. So I wanted to, put my head down, put myself in that, learn all that. And then last July, I officially became promoted to manager, sales manager.
Wow.
So.
Well, and I really admire that thought process about leadership, like doing the thing that they do before you have to say, hey, you know what you ought to do?
Yeah.
Because I think we've all had bosses before that have said, hey, you know what you ought to do? And you're like, oh yeah, when did you do that? Or you ask somebody else later and they're like, man, he's never done this job,
Exactly.
So.
And I always like the knowledge of it all as well. I mean, you can sit there all day and, read Google articles, I'm sure, but there's nothing like, getting your hands in it and just, doing it. And I don't know, for whatever reason, it was always very attractive to me. So I just dived right in.
Yeah, there's probably a YouTube video for it, right?
I'm sure there is.
Everything has a YouTube video.
I'm sure there is. Absolutely.
So you said you've been there since 2013. So
Yes.
like what kind of changes have you seen in that restaurant business from that level, with a corporate ownership and so on, other than obviously the selling, but
Well, so, when I first started working there, things were, pretty well. Everybody was pretty well staffed. So, for example, I was one of probably 5 server assistants. And then at that time, the hosting and server assistant were 2 completely different jobs. So you'd walk in, a host would seat you, and then a server assistant, once you're done, would, help a server, bust the table, or they would also be helping servers get drink orders and all that. Because a server assistant position, the whole point of it at the time was for you to be promoted to a server. That was the whole point. So with the sell of, Red Lobster, that server assistant position more transitioned into basically a host. So the host position at Red Lobster technically doesn't exist anymore, and they're all server assistants. They make like $7 on the hour, and they get tipped out from the servers. And that's a big difference from what they were doing when they were a host and they were making hourly wage. So, I act like, I went through the ringer with COVID, but, our actual staff kind of went through it also.
Yeah.
And on top of the corporate changes that have been made and, all those kinds of things. So that was probably the major change, in my opinion, that had been made. Darden, post Darden.
yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of people that go out to eat, that sit at a table and get waited on, that have never done that job.
Yeah.
And there's so many different layers to it. So you just mentioned something about what their wage was, plus they get tipped out by the server.
Yep.
I know what that means. Not that I've done that job, but I've had somebody else explain to me that like a server, to get their tables cleaned faster, a lot of, they would share tips.
Yes.
And then now it's kind of expected to.
Yes. So the way it works at Red Lobster, I'm not sure about other restaurants. So, for server assistants and bartenders, it's 1% of that server's total sales for the day. And that's what they have to tip out to the server assistant. And then it's like 1.25% for bartenders.
Yeah.
But
so you do that as a restaurant, not expecting the server to do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I apologize for that.
That makes more sense to me. So thanks for clarifying.
Well, yeah. And
But there's a lot going on with that job.
Yeah, absolutely.
In that
yeah.
industry.
And if
Every restaurant's probably different.
Oh yeah, and there's also some probably under the table stuff. Hey, roll my silverware. Here's a here's a $5.
Here's a $5.
Hey, clean my section so I can just get out of here. Here's a $5.
Yeah,
so
right.
Well, not
that's
only that,
definitely happening as well. So.
But when you have a good team and you have folks that are collaborating together, they tend to do that stuff together on their own. I remember working in retail when I was in college, and I had an exam or something the next day, and I would tell my boss, and he'd be like, "Hey, we can close up. You go ahead and go home and get some study for your exam or whatever."
Absolutely.
And so I that's really when you have good managers and you have a good team. They just feed off each other. You know? So that's probably helpful for you guys too. I mean, it's probably been harder to build that team of late. But when you get good people, it's important to hang on to them.
Yeah. Pre-COVID, our specific restaurant, we only had like a 3% turnover. Like it was like one of the best ratings like that they've seen in a while. I don't know what the numbers are now for turnover, but it's probably not very good.
Yeah. It's astronomical, I'm sure.
Yeah. Just in the last.
And that's everywhere. You're not immune to that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know everybody's struggling when, keeping people. And so.
Well, and in all honesty, you're probably better structured to have less turnover because you're not a mom and pop where they can,
right.
Again, I've used this analogy a bunch of times, but when you have one fairly new, fast food restaurant on Bridge Street right now paying $18 an hour to be a line cook.
Yeah, it's hard.
The small places downtown can't keep up with that, but you guys have to keep up with it too.
Yeah, we do. It's very competitive. So basically what we try to tell people is, we might not pay, I think it's like $16 an hour. I saw like Panda Express, for example. I think was paying
something like that.
some along the lines of that. But a lot of those places aren't scheduling you 40 hours a week. And I always tell them, that is something to think about.
Yeah.
But I'm always very open, in interviews with, new hires and things like that. I'm like, if it has to be the right fit, if you. Yeah, after we have our conversations, if you feel like, this isn't for you, then be honest with me and, that's what we'll do.
Yeah.
We're very picky with the people we do bring in, more personality and, we talk to them about their previous jobs and, all of that. And like every place does. But yeah, a lot of people like to say we're kind of like a family. There's some people there that have been there for 20 plus years, or with the company for 20 plus years. So one of our managers, he's been with the company since I was like 1 year old. So, and Chris, the GM, she's been there for 23 plus-ish years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kevin Fisher, he's been there for 20 plus years. So, there's a lot of experience, all in this one little, Red Lobster here in Chillicothe, Ohio. So, it's very interesting. So,
Yeah.
I've seen in other restaurants in town where you would see a server at one location, then a new restaurant opens up, and then they go there and they kind of chase the crowd a little bit.
Yeah.
And I haven't over the years seen that as much at Red Lobster. So you must be doing something to take care of those people.
Yeah. We try to, go to our people, be like, hey, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? Let's try to, make this right. And the individual shift, per day can obviously be stressful. But anytime a situation arises, we usually pull people to the side, be like, hey, what's going on? What can we do for you? From a management perspective, we genuinely try to do that. I think other places are a little bit more cutthroat when it comes to, certain situations. Not trying to call anybody out by any means, but just, everything I've heard from other people. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it's easy, I think, sometimes to chase that shiny new diamond, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you get on over there and you grasp that diamond and realize it's not the cut that you like or the clarity that you like. And next thing you know, you're like, well, geez, I shouldn't have done that,
Yeah. Well, it almost happened to me when Roadhouse came to town. We actually ended up losing a server to Roadhouse, and I actually interviewed to be a manager over there. Interview did not go the way I really thought it would go. Like it just kind of made me think like, I'm glad I did this interview because it taught me that I belong where I am. Like it just taught me that I like what I'm doing. And this was, pre me being a manager at Red Lobster. I was still a supervisor at the time. And obviously the opportunity arose for me to actually have that title on my resume. So, it was attractive. So, I did apply, and got an interview and all that. Just didn't work out. And I'm happy that I did, that I didn't.
Right.
This is big. Horizon Fiber Internet is ready
Let them get you hooked up and power your Wi-Fi network.
with the speed and reliability that only a 100% fiber network can do.
Horizon is ready to help you do what you do better. With real people, real rates, and a real service.
Connect with them today, and the first month is free, plus no contracts and no data caps. Call 740-772-8331
Or visit horizonconnects.com/Chillicothe
to sign up today. Well, those experiences are important.
Yeah.
Number one, you learn the thing that you have is actually valuable. That's great.
Yeah.
I think the other thing too is when you interview, you gain skill.
Yeah.
And so those things aren't all that bad. Ultimately, it's a good thing. So, I know that when we've talked in my professional life, that you're trying to get the word out about Red Lobster and get a little more involved in the community. You guys became members of the chamber and things like that. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, part of something in my head that I've always thought, like I follow pretty much, I've always followed the chamber. I've always followed a lot of the local real estate offices. I've always, eaten at all the local restaurants. And I've born and raised here pretty much minus 5 years of living in North Carolina. It's another story for another day. I just feel like, everybody at Red Lobster, like I was telling you before, has been there, since 94, I think, when that Red Lobster opened. So, yes, we're corporate, but at the same time, all of our people who work for us are, embedded in this community. So why not, be involved in, some of these things? So I felt like the number one first step, hey, join the chamber. Why are we not a part of the chamber? So that was my first, just made sense to me. And that has opened some doors, to Bobby sent us a email the other day about possibly catering an event. So we're going to be sending in our thing for that. We're actually going to be hosting the Lunch with 12 Strangers in March.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which again, from that, because I actually wrote out on a list of all the opportunities that is going to be provided to our company just based on this, relationship with the chamber. And I'm like, it's a no brainer. Like, why wouldn't we do that? And all the bosses and everything were very pleased with my decision for us to be involved with that. So I'm also working on some other type promotions and stuff within the Red Lobster. I actually went through Metropolis Design Studios. They made us some discount cards, 10% discount cards that I've been handing out to some of the local businesses. So if they do any kind of takeout through us or anything, they automatically save 10% off.
Oh, great.
And then I also have a thing made for the hotels by Roosters and in that area. I'm still kind of working on getting those passed out and all that. But again, they save 10%. If they come, they show us their key card from the hotels, they get 10% off. So, I'm trying to kind of give some and get some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ultimately, especially in food.
Yeah.
It's a hustle game, man.
It is a hustle
especially
game.
Especially on your stretch where you can't go 25 feet without being in range of 3, 4,
Yep, absolutely.
So, especially right where you're at because there's 3 right there,
and there's a lot of chain restaurants. And so you don't see chain restaurants in Chillicothe that get involved like that. For the most part.
There's a few, but not many.
Yeah, not many.
And I think there are obviously notable exceptions to the law, to the rule, right? Like the Fusters and McDonald's are in everything, right?
Absolutely.
But then, there are others that you just don't hear from at all, right? So
absolutely.
I think it's important that what you're doing there, I think is a good move. I think just being involved more. That probably will end up getting you catering gigs or lunch gigs or whatever,
Yeah, absolutely.
Just even more foot traffic in.
Yeah. Do you have like a larger room that you could put a smaller private party, or is it just kind of still open?
So when you walk in, it's a very small restaurant. It actually started in 1994 as a test restaurant. They didn't think it was going to do anything good. Like they just, again, this is Darden. This is Darden. Yeah. And I've heard the stories, we used to have a line wrapped around the building and it took 3 hours for someone just to get in for a table and, all that, which is great. And then if you go to another Red Lobster, an hour away, it's about triple the size of ours.
Yeah.
So, we have to make what we have to do with our small little restaurant, which I love it. But to answer your actual question, we do have 2 back rooms. One's bigger than the other. And we can fit about 30 people in the one room.
Okay.
And then in the front room, like, let's say there's like an after hour event or something that I'm trying to host or do, we can even obviously go probably triple that amount.
Yeah.
So, but post COVID, our capacity is only like 131. Pre-COVID, it was 240 something. So, we're still trying to do what we're allowed to do with, what we can. So,
yeah. And I think the more we get further away from Omicron, I think the better off we're going to be, obviously.
I think so too.
But I think it'll help us to see maybe some of these restrictions start to lessen even more. And
yeah,
I think you're still going to have people out there wearing masks. Actually, as we're recording this tonight, I got an email from the school saying that they were going to make masks optional beginning on Tuesday because the kids are off on Monday. And so I think that kind of represents a way of where we're going.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you bring that up. We got an email tonight from corporate because there for a while they were having the employees only, all of the employees wear masks, and then they just sent it out. If you're fully vaccinated, you don't have to wear one.
Yeah.
If you're unvaccinated, you still have to. And they just sent that in the middle of the shift.
Yeah.
So everybody was kind of happy to throw their mask in the trash. And
Yeah.
do all of that. A little mini celebration.
Yeah, it's funny. I joked about this, when they started lifting the restrictions and they said, no, it wasn't a mask mandate or whatever, that we all ran into the streets and ripped our masks off and danced, But, it all had its point in time. But I think, living with a life that is going to have to include some accommodation for where we're at, I think is probably the way to go now.
Yeah.
It's really all that we can do.
Yeah.
So,
Everybody just keeps talking about the new normal. So
yeah. What other kinds of things are you doing at Red Lobster that maybe we haven't talked about that are kind of fun and interesting?
So right now we have a bunch of specials going on that corporate has introduced, and the newest one is the 3 from the Sea. So for $15.99, you can get a soup, salad, appetizer, and an entree. And the entrees do come with sides. I actually double checked that before I came here because I'm like, do they get 2 sides? And you still get 2 sides. So, I think another thing that the company and I wholeheartedly agree with, they realize some of our higher price items are probably a little too pricey, and they want to try to, bring in everyone. And that also includes people who also don't really like seafood, because seafood, not a lot of people like seafood. It's a very specific market. So, during COVID, they kind of did away with a lot of our sandwiches. Our tacos went away, which, obviously they had to do those things. But, now we have a burger back. We have, a fish sandwich that they call the Codzilla. We have a Nashville chicken sandwich. We have, Cajun chicken pasta. We have steaks, of course, and chicken. And people just don't know that we have a lot of non-seafood things. So I'm also trying to get that word out as well. And part of that is they did do the 10 under 10. That's actually mostly seafood options, but they can get that Codzilla sandwich and popcorn shrimp, coconut shrimp for under $10. Comes with sides as well. And then another new thing that Red Lobster introduced are the daily deals. So you go in on a Monday, minus Valentine's Day, because they didn't offer endless shrimp on Valentine's Day.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah, we wouldn't.
Cut into that bottom line a little bit.
That would have not been a fun day. It was extremely busy. So Mondays for $17.99, we are offering endless shrimp. That I think people are still trying to get the word out about that a little bit. It's just kind of like a little bit of a non-known secret.
Yeah.
So 2 for Tuesday, 2 Mariners Feast. So, those are 2 major meals. So you can get salmon, scallops, Walt's favorite shrimp, 2 sides, and you'll get 2 of these for $45.99. We're offering the steak and lobster on Wednesdays, $20.99, and that comes with 2 sides as well. Throwback Thursday. So Walt's favorite shrimp, that's what Red Lobster was built on, basically. They named it after a baker who came up with the breading. It's butterflied shrimp. I always like talking about pointless facts about Red Lobster. But it comes with the drink for $12.99, and then we have fish fry Fridays for $11.99. That comes with French fries and coleslaw.
You know, it's interesting that you mentioned the like the other options other than seafood, because literally until I was probably in my 20s, like probably early 20s, mid 20s, I did not eat anything off the seafood menu at Red Lobster whenever I went.
Right.
I had chicken, hamburger, whatever, you know.
Well, for me being a server, it's kind of the norm. There's actually more people than you think don't like seafood.
No kidding.
Yeah. So I'm glad that they started to bring back a lot of these non-seafood items. And I just had a conversation with a lady on the phone the other day. She called to ask me if she could bring in food, like from another restaurant. And I said, ma'am, that's absolutely fine. I'm like, no one's going to bother you with that. But I do want to let you know, we do have some non-seafood options that they have just newly kind of introduced in the last, I don't know, maybe 8 months. So I let her know about all that, and she didn't bring her food in. She actually ended up eating a burger, and she loved it. So, you know, I was happy that I convinced her not to bring food in from another restaurant.
Well, for a number of years, you had my favorite chicken fingers around, because it came with honey mustard, and honey mustard is really good.
Yeah.
And so I would get there and I'm like, I'll take the chicken fingers, and just like, really? That's what you're gonna get? But they're so good. So yeah.
Have you had the new ones?
I've not had the new ones, but I've had the Nashville hot chicken.
The Nashville hot chicken. What'd you think?
I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically the new chicken fingers, we have chicken tenders that come in, before it was pre-breaded, frozen, all of that. Now the chicken frozen comes to us, but it's already in tenders and everything, and we hand bread it to order. So it's a much better product, I think. And I love the chicken fingers now. I loved the chicken fingers before too, but I love them more now, I think. Good
hand breading makes a difference.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why restaurants that start fresh and stay fresh, you know, do well.
Right.
Yeah. And so it may not be possible to do it at a corporate level like that, but as long as you're getting the chicken and then hand breading it, I think it's probably a big difference.
So and the reason why you came on the podcast, Kevin, is because you want to get these things out to people.
Yeah.
So corporately, is that the struggle right now for Red Lobster and other restaurants? Is how do you, because of the way people watch TV now, like, is it harder to advertise on TV to target your market because of all the streaming? I mean, I guess, is that a challenge that you're seeing now, like locally, what Red Lobster fights?
Right. So locally, yes, I do see that. From a Red Lobster national standpoint, Red Lobster does a pretty good job of, you know, having commercials. I've seen commercials on Snapchat. I've seen commercials on YouTube. So they are trying to expand. Basically, you know, part of my job as a sales manager is I'm a brand ambassador, not only for the company, but also for our local Red Lobster as well. And I have just seen, you know, other commercials and things like that, which is great. But I'm just really trying to get, you know, our name out there, because I personally know other people that work at other restaurants and these kinds of things, as you do when you're in this business. And again, pre-COVID, obviously our guest counts have taken a hit. So has everybody else's. So, you know, we're just trying to get people back to us and, you know, show them that we can take care of them, and hopefully they want to come back.
Yeah.
Do you still do a lot of carry out?
Yeah. So
see that number.
Yeah. So, in 2019, ironically enough, right before COVID hit, Red Lobster was making this major push towards takeout. Cause we were doing takeout, but we weren't really advertising it a whole lot. And so, you know, takeout's the next big thing. And then COVID happened, which kind of forced takeout to be the next big thing. Yeah. So, you know, we're doing takeouts, like we're doing crazy takeout numbers. And you know, the way I like to tell people is we treat your takeout like you're eating with us. Our cooks do a great job of, you know, hey, this is a takeout. So, you know, usually your takeout gets priority over someone sitting in the restaurant, to be quite honest with you. And, you know, we try to make it look as nice as we can in a takeout box. And, you know, even though you're eating at home, we try to make you feel like you're having a nice meal. So,
well, I think pre-COVID, people might have thought, you know, I could get something takeout from Red Lobster, but it's probably not going to be the same.
Yeah.
But I think what COVID taught everybody is, if you're going to make money as a restaurant, you're going to have to present it with that same experience, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, I think maybe everybody learned a real valuable lesson in that, is that make sure it tastes the same and you'll be okay. You know?
Yeah. As long as you're, executing the way you're supposed to be executing. Fried food, obviously takeout. Fried food is what it is. But we always try to overcook it just a little bit for them. So it's not, too bad when they get it home.
Yeah.
I just know in general, me and my wife eat out a lot just at other places. So I get it. So,
yeah.
Well, and you especially with fried food, you want it to be crisp. You want it to be, and if you're transporting fried food, sometimes it get a little soggy. So, it's good that, you guys think about that detail because, I know I've gotten fried foods before and I was like, boy, this would have been good an hour ago.
Or you think about your sit down experience in the restaurant and you were like, man, it would have been so much better sitting here. So, but I will say that there's a lot of restaurants that have upped their game, their takeout game. Yeah. And they had to, because they weren't great at takeout before. Yeah. And to live through COVID, they were going to have to. So.
Well, and a lot of it was based on the sit down experience, right? Like, when I go somewhere to eat, I am giving up control, not only of the food, but I don't have to do the dishes. Yeah. I don't have to clean up, you know. But when I take it home, I'm like, well, I still got to clean all this up. But it's obviously better if I just got to throw it in the trash, throw the boxes away. So, and you still have the biscuits because there's no way you could cease to exist as a seafood restaurant, but you still have to have the biscuits.
Yeah, we still have the biscuits. There's been some challenges recently with the supply chain and all that, but somehow somebody in corporate Red Lobster was able to figure it out, and we haven't had to run out of them. It never affected our restaurant. I heard that there were some restaurants like Red Lobsters that were affected and they had to go buy some flour locally and kind of figure it out. Yeah. But it's a special flour that comes in. We hand bread it and everything in house. But that flour with everything in it does get sent to us. Yeah. So it's special. It's been, the bread and butter.
Proprietary information right there, folks.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
Well, and it should be.
Well, if you look what's in front of you, Mike.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it.
Like we've had some guests that have brought us some things.
That's right. Kevin did not let us down. I will say that.
Kevin is the first that brought us biscuits.
That's right. Yeah,
I have to.
We've gotten, we've gotten coffee, I think.
Coffee.
We got beer once. And biscuits. And then what else?
Tara brought us
drinks. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. So, yeah, this is you're next in line of a proud tradition of people that are blatantly buying our love. So we're okay with it.
Well, I feel honored. I'm like I said, I'm really glad that I'm, on the podcast. I actually listened to a couple of your episodes and, I'm like, I saw an opportunity just because I liked your conversations that you had with the other people that you've had on here. And I'm like, I feel like I should go on there. So, I'm glad you guys had me.
Appreciate you reaching out.
Yeah. And the other thing that I guess I wanted to ask you about too is obviously, like you didn't go too far from home. You went to Shawnee and then you came back. Yeah. But if you didn't like it here, you wouldn't stay here. Yeah. And so you're become part of the community. You've got a wife and a child now. Your family still lives here and things like that. So
Chillicothe's always been my home. And then I did go to Shawnee, but I actually have an associate's degree from OUC. I didn't really go to school with Shawnee, but I was at Shawnee.
I was there once. I get it.
I was there, but I wasn't there. But yeah, Chillicothe is my home. I have great memories of, playing Gus Smacker when I was, 7 years old on Water Street when they still used to, have Gus Smacker downtown and all that. So, it made sense to, stay here and start my family here. And ironically enough, I met Alyssa at Red Lobster too, who's my wife. We have a 15-month-old son. So
was she working there too?
She doesn't work there anymore. But so I started in 2013. She started serving there that August. And it was just kind of funny. We were actually having like an endless shrimp meeting, and my cousin is like a mutual friend with her, and she messaged me, and history after that.
That's right.
History after that.
Wow. Romance among the shrimp.
At an endless shrimp meeting. Like that. That's great.
You know what? I've got great stories about my wife, but I don't have any endless shrimp meetings. So there you go.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, man, it was great having you on. I wish you guys luck. I think, one of the great things that I think we've been able to do is to try to help the hidden gems kind of shine a little bit. And so
I appreciate it.
I really hope that you guys keep doing well. And I think for everybody's sake, I hope this summer in particular starts us on the right path towards vibrancy again. And, you know, hopefully that all works out for everybody, you know. So,
yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Thanks, Kevin.
You're listening to the Feels Like Home podcast with Mike Throne and Marty Ford. Powered by Horizon. This is big. This is gig.
It feels a little strange, but I don't feel alone. We just settled in and it already feels